Freljord has 5 different gods: the Volibear, Valhir, the Cryophoenix Anivia, Fire Below the Mountain Ornn, the Iron Boar, and the mysterious seal system. All of those gods are visually themed after actual Freljordian animals, and embody things like change and ice, endurance and everwinter, guidance and salt, craftsmanship and fire, or storm and the struggle of life. In League of Legends, we already have 2 of the named ones in the game, although Anivia desperately needs a visual overhaul. Yeah, but those other 2, the missing ones, the Iron Boar and the Seal Sister, of whom the later one was recently mentioned in Udia's new bio, have not yet seen the spotlight. I do hope that with the eventual Tryndamere update, the Iron Boar will get some more lore, but why this might be the case, I will shed some light on in my next Champion Rework video. These primal gods are a big part of why I love the Freljord and its lore so much. This part of Runeterra to me feels the most fantastic, wild, and beautifully ancient. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one.
Gnar is a good boy. He's nothing new, he is the raging beast and the cute monster in one person. A gremlin or the Hulk, but in small and furry. So basically your average child that would be going green when throwing tantrums. Gnar feels so good to me because lately champions became ever so often humanoid and similar in physique. Gnar's silhouette, in small or big form, is hardly mistaken. But that's not the reason I draw him here, because sometimes you need to paint something easy, and so have a good little yodel boy. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. League of Legends plant people are 3 very different tropes. We have Ivern, the springy, weird, friendly grandfather who goes for long walks and comes back with squirrels on his head. Maokai, who is the tragic survivor of an apocalyptic event and now barely stays alive in an endless struggle against the undead. And then there's Zyra, and oh boy, is she a different beast. Zyra is basically a sentient bioweapon that is about to run you down, and all of the world will end in flowers. The fascinating thing is, Belva's story is basically Zyra's story, with a voidy background. Just that Zyra's design got the short end of the stick and definitely needs the redesign. Either way, Zyra is a good villain, and I'm looking forward to read more about her in the future. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. Aurelion Sol is a star-forging celestial dragon with an ego bigger than a galaxy. The Octagonian aspects fluttered Aurelion by presenting him with a crown, but the moment it touched his brow, he knew it was no gift at all. The crown stole his knowledge about the sun he had created, and with his celestial power, they created the Shuriman Sun Warriors for a coming conflict. The crown also hurled him back to space when coming too near to his planet. He was then used to close void rifts throughout the galaxy, and as long as Azol is there, Runeterra will be protected. Aurelion, meanwhile, would do everything to regain his freedom, and after millennia of chaos on Runeterra, he sees that the aspects grow weak and can feel his crown fading away. Now he returns towards Runeterra, and the universe itself will bear witness to the fate of those who dare steal power from a star dragon. Ah, Seth, the himbo with a heart of gold, an adventurous smile, and the right hook like a highway truck. This combination of being dangerous to everyone else, but kind and caring to his oblivious mother, is most likely the reason why his persona stands out in the League of Legends roster. Obviously, the amount of muscle and meat convinces on another level. When Seth was released, I could see his impact firsthand on the profile of a fellow student who wrote, "Seth is my husband, so this one is for you." So yeah, right, I guess that's a W in your book. If you ask yourself how I came up with this idea, this is basically my headcanon of army healing Seth. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. Freljord is a hard, icy and mystical place. Nothing counts as much as family and survival. In addition, it's the honor of ancestors and none more than the famous three sisters, Lysandra, Cyrilla and Avarosa. In ancient times, these three ruled the Freljord. The sisters mingled with powers greater than them and paid dearly. Cyrilla lost her voice. Avarosa was deafened and Lysandra got blinded by the claws of a primal god. Unknown to all, Lysandra started walking in dreams and visions, and the darkness beneath the world revealed itself a promise of infinity. She struck a deal with those beings, and in turn got granted the power of near immortality and the power to withstand the numbing frost, all to prepare the world for the coming of the void. The three sisters and their followers were named Iceborn. Cyrilla and Avarosa, though, turned against her. While still debating them, the Watchers entered the world. Lysandra sacrificed her sisters and the Iceborn to freeze the Watchers between realities. Now, centuries later, after rewriting history, plotting, she's concerned, because not only does the ice in which she sealed the Watchers is melting, but there's also the rumor that her sisters might one day return, and it might just so be that their reincarnations are finally here, one an idealist and one a conqueror.
Swain is part of the Triferix, the three rulers of Noxus. His family played a key role in Ornn Darkwill's rise to power, this being the Noxian monarch. However, they plotted against Darkwill, part of the Cabal, known only under the symbol of a black rose. Swain heard of this and executed the most prominent conspirators, among them his parents, because he values Noxus more than house or kin. So he was rewarded and granted a commission in the Noxian army, and he learned that the Empire's strength came not from Noxus, but by the power to unite all men, no matter of origin. His forces were scattered to hunt for artifacts, and so he was beaten in Ionia. His hand was taken and his knee was crippled. About to die, a raven sat before him, and he felt a dark presence, and saw in the raven's eye a pale lady, a black rose, and her puppet Emperor. He realized that he had been played by the Black Rose. Cast out of the army as a cripple, he returned to Noxus, and in the Immortal Bastion found a demon, a drinker of secrets, and against all odds found a way to wield its power. After years of planning, and restored by the demon, he crushed Darkwill in one night, leaving the throne empty. He now has a vision of unity. He called back war hosts and armies fighting unwinnable battles, and with vision now plans on greater ones to come.
Varus, the Bow of Retribution. A Darkin is an Ascended who is trapped inside his weapon. Varus, as the name states, is a bow. But this is not all. Varus is also two men from Ionia, two lovers, of whom one tried to save the other one by letting him down into a well where the bow was located, and so freed Varus. The Darkin merged with both of them, uniting them into one entity. Actually, the music video As We Fall tells basically the whole merging process, and now he tries to hunt down those who trapped him in this place. As a side fact, Varus was most likely trapped by an earlier aspect of the sun. Later then, this warrior queen traveled to the land that would become known as Ionia, and left the bow to be protected and not to be found. I'm very curious how Varus' lore will continue and how his cards will play out in Legends of Runeterra. This was Arthis, and I'll see you in the next one. Evelyn, Agony's Embrace, is a demon and also named the Horned Woman. Evelyn, as a demon, is unbelievably old, but as it is with demons, they thrive in times of unrest, war and problems. Evelyn grasped sentience during the Rune Wars, where she fed on the misery of the civilizations. For this, Evelyn was something, an entity, numb to everything and barely existing for centuries. When the Rune Wars ended, Evelyn didn't return to that, what she was before. She was hungry and desperate for the pleasures that the suffering of others provided. Evelyn hunted her prey, but the form she took drove her victims away. Then she learned from humans what they liked and how to lure them. Now Evelyn has become so good that she stirs in everyone she lures the one thing that this person feels affected to the most, the one thing that his life is missing. But even though she killed dozens, she still longs for the day she can finally feast on a world of anarchy, chaos, and pain. Shurima, once the greatest empire of Valoran, is located on the southern continent. Shurima's strength were the Ascended, the God Warriors or Sunborn. 4 of them became the stuff of legends, and are still there millennia later. The brothers Nasus and Renekton, Shurima's greatest tactician and one of its greatest warriors. When Nasus was granted ascension at a high age, his brother carried him up the stairs towards the celestial power, sure to be destroyed by them. But both returned as Ascended, beings of near immortal power. The Ascended were weapons for a war that was to come, and greater beings pulled the strings in the background. The Ascended were also the downfall of Shurima. Azir and Zerath, brothers by friendship, but not by blood. When Azir was about to ascend, he was forced off the platform by Zerath, who was growing bitter, because he thought Azir would never fulfill his promise to free Shurima's slaves, and so to keep also him a slave. He ascended instead of Azir, becoming a being of pure energy, and all people of the city died that day. Azir got resurrected thousands of years later, but Shurima still has to heal. Shuriman Ascended started as brothers, but grew apart. These warrior stories have a lot in store for us, and I definitely want a game that is based on Shurima's golden years. The Kindred are League of Legends' personification of death. The wolf hunts those who fight death, and the lamb, the archer, shoots those who are willingly going, giving them swift death. There is a tale that Death once was a grey man who was lonely, because, being Death, people shun him. So he split himself in two to always have a friend. The Kindred are, as it is with different cultures, viewed differently everywhere. In Ionia they are like the depiction in the Spirit Blossom skins, or a snake and a sparrow. In Shurima they are seen as tusk gazelles with sparkled hyenas. Other interpretations are jewelfish and minnow, bloody antlered stag and a sleek rabbit, rose and a stinging bee. Demacia praises lambs' swift deaths. Freljordians accept the violent death of the wolf, while weaklings and children are taken by the lamb. Noxians focus mainly on the wolf aspects, and in Bilgewater, lamb is straight up seen as weak and cowardly. But hold on for a moment and think about all the lore skins. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. K'Sante, League of Legends new champion just gotten released. When I saw this champion, I heard his voice and saw his cinematic, I thought, yes, yeah, this works really well. Many people criticized that K'Sante is not armored and I too use armored champions, but what we've got is very nice either way. His style, his weapons are very distinct from what we have in the game, and ever since Black Panther I have a soft spot for West African style and clothing. K'Sante has a compelling story for a change. His motivation is no dead person, but being left by his love, which is a very relatable motivation. He was left because he was too proud and arrogant, which directly leads to the next point. K'Sante actually realizing that pride is the character trait that held him back, and overcoming his flaws in the hero's journey is a good change to all the cocky champions. His boyfriend being out there somewhere is a nice setup, and now I just want Riot to fix this jungle clear, because if our new monster hunter can't kill monsters, this would make me really sad. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. Pyke is League of Legends' first attempt of creating something different for support. Pyke is an assassin. He gets from one place to another without being seen and tries to get his whole crew ahead. Pyke has since then gotten so famous and widely played that after only 4 years he has 7 skins, including 2 legendaries and 1 prestige. He was also featured in a separate game, Rune King. Pyke used to be a monster hunter. Mila, Pyke, K'Sante and Rengar game incoming maybe? He was betrayed by his captain, who cut his lifeline while hunting for the jewelfish. For whatever reason, he was revived under some influence that caused him to be fixated upon a list, a piece of paper where all the names of those who betrayed him were written. Strange enough though, the list grew ever longer. Recently, Pyke broke the power that controlled him and can now decide his own fate. This was Arthis, and I'll see you in the next one. League of Legends has plenty of weapons, and I thought, how many swords are there? So I looked up all the champions, and this is part 1 of League of Legends swords. Number 1, Gangplank. His sword is definitely not what comes to mind when I thought about swords, and at power level I would put it way down. It's the most basic sword. I doubt that it is magical, even though in-game it burns. I suppose it has nothing to do with the blade. Tryndamere. Well, Tryndamere. I put it just above GP sword, no special enchantments here. The blades are actually crafted in the image of the horns of the Iron Boar, but as long as we don't have any confirmation, I doubt that this sword has any special powers. Third, Samira. Now blades become more interesting. Samira's blade is made by the best smiths Noxus has to offer. It's much more practical than the first swords, and looks a lot more efficient. But I doubt that the blade has any special abilities. I suppose most of her power comes from her guns. Number 4, Fiora. And you might think, what? This little stick? Yes and no. It is small and with no ability to deflect strikes, this blade might be seen as weak. But we are talking about Demacian steel. It is able to absorb magic, and you could even argue that Demacian swords could probably hold their own against far greater swords. League of Legends Swords Part 2. Garen. Garen's sword is made of Demacian steel, which can absorb magic. It's heavier and bigger than Fiora's sword, and has already absorbed a way higher amount of magic, which could make it stronger. Yasuo. The blade is made by Ionian mastersmiths. It is a tool to work the wind magic. A normal person could not use it as a way to unlock the power, but its potential makes it more powerful than the earlier ones. Master Yi. His sword is not only potentially magical, but enchanted and more importantly made by the Master Doran, a famous Ionian smith. I doubt that someone who is no Wuju master could use the blade to greater means. Riven. Riven's broken blade is one of Riot's most famous weapons. The blade can reshape in an instant. It is a strong weapon in everyone's hand, although I think that only the schooled ones can unlock its full power. The blade is made by Noxian runesmith. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one.
League of Legends Swords Part 3. Number 9. Shen. Shen's sword is a spirit blade. It exists in the spirit realm and is able to hurt such ghosts, Ars Arcana, demons, and spirit. The weapon was created especially for this purpose. In times of need, the Ionian Kinku order secured balance between the spirit realm and the physical realm with this tool. Leona. Leona's Zenith blade is crafted by the Solari Sunforgers, artificers who enchant weapons with the power of the sun. I put the sword so high because it can channel celestial energy, no matter the wearer, making him able to fight magical or mortal enemy. Leona's power with the blade can be a lot stronger though. Diana. I believe the creation process of the blade was very similar, but Diana, with an exclusively offensive equipment, channels more power through her weapon. I put Diana's blade a bit above Leona's blade because Leona is owning a shield on top of it, but I would set the woman on the same power level. Yone. Yone's blade comes from the spirit realm. It is magical and has the power to seal Ars Arcana and potentially demons inside of masks. The blade is most likely able to fight mortal and immortal foes. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. League of Legends Swords Part 4. Kayle. This sword comes directly from the Celestial Realm. It is so significant that Kayle and Morgana's mother chose their children to use the twin blade. The blade was a catalyst to reveal their celestial heritage, and for Kayle it is a tool to manifest her power. Its name is Virtue and it burns eternal. Kassadin, the nether blade of Volak. Kassadin's blade is part of a gauntlet set of an earlier ascended who created a blade that is able to cut through reality. This is the original anti-void void weapon, and it is so powerful that even the ascended left the blade in his tomb. Aatrox. Aatrox's blade is potentially the strongest blade in existence. It contains the consciousness and power of an ascended. The offside is that the moment you would take hold of the weapon, an unbreakable will grasps your mind and overtakes your body. Meanwhile, it morphs you into a more suitable form. Aatrox has the power to slay celestial aspects light years away. The Blade of the Rune King. It is rumored that the blade comes from the celestial realm. It is also called Sanctity, because when it appears, Kamavor's people are safe. The one cut severs your soul and withers your body. The blade resides in the spirit realm, when not called to the sanctum in Kamavor or by its king. Vega is an eternal spirit, a Yordle. He was captured by Mordekaiser, who tortured him to learn the mysteries of the Yordles. The little thing got the idea to become an evil sorcerer himself. This can be because the Yordles reflect the culture around them. Veigar, even though being a Yordle and very powerful, is very bad at being evil. This was a short video. Is this a short joke? Yes, it definitely is. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. Spear Part 1. Nidalee. Even though it does the most damage in game, Nidalee's spear is just a spear with a sharp tip made of stone. This is peak League of Legends 2009 design, and the champion has still not been updated. A bit tragic, if you ask me. Xin Zhao. This spear is made of fine Demacian steel, so let's all repeat. It absorbs magic. Xin is a formidable fighter, and this is why the spear gets so deadly. Itself has no magical properties. Rel. Rel's spear is actually a lance for mounted combat. The lance is made of Noxian metals, and its strength comes from Rel herself. Every metal that she touches is able to transform and penetrate every other given metal. This is why I put it above the other two. It's weak by itself, but only used by Rel, and with that a lot stronger. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. League of Legends Spears Part 2. Jarvan. Jarvan wears the spear Dragonbane. It's Demacian steel, but furthermore it can retract and extend. In combat it can be as deadly to himself as to others when not used correctly, and only the Lightshield family knows how to use the blade. Kalista. Kalista's spear is able to pierce flesh and spirit. In her death, the spears with which she had been killed reformed in her body. In the story, she meets Vladimir and wipes his booty, sending him rowing back on a boat. So believe me when I tell you, Kalista's spears can do some serious damage. Pantheon. Atreus' spear's Skyfall should be the strongest spear, but has a catch. The spear comes from the earlier host of the god of war, Orion. The spear was imbued with celestial magic and became a holy object. It lights up when celestial magic is channeled through it. The problem is that for Atreus, it needs a lot of willpower. Still an S-tier weapon. I'm just a bit sad that these are all spears. Right, we really need some badass powerful spear. Janna is very much a left behind design. She could be one of the most beautiful and amazing designs though. Janna is the wind and the storm. She gives fresh air to Sawnite people and was once the one who was prayed to when people still sailed from one continent to the other. Janna can be gentle as a breeze, but also harsh and strong like dark, thunderous clouds filling the horizon. She can be a hurricane or be calm in the eye of the storm. She is great material for a cinematic and there are such amazing redesigns of her.
and I wish Riot would embrace her as a timeless, primal elder god. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. Aatrox. Aatrox is one of my favorite champions, because I think his story is very well layered, but leaves out a lot that can be explored. He used to be a godlike ascended, fighting for Shurima and humanity. Being light and reason given shape, he had to face horrors no one should have seen, and later his kingdom toppled and his brethren fought for the scraps of it. Aatrox has seen betrayal, countless murders, has seen ideals fall and thrown aside, and his devotion has been repaid by eternal prison in a place where he can't breathe, nor feel, nor see. His world of light has become darkness, and even though he tried everything to reclaim his former glory, nothing worked. Aatrox was broken, and his only hope is that when he finally ends all of existence, he will end as well. This was Arthis, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome to League of Legends Weapons. Today we take a look at daggers and knives. We will start with 3 champions, Malzahar, Akali and Katarina. All of those weapons are likely well made, but it is the wielder or the purpose that makes the dagger special. Akali and Kata are some top class assassins, and Malzahar's dagger is most likely used for ritual sacrifice. Next up is Shaco. I only put him above because he seems to be magical, but there's actually no Shaco lore, so we have no idea what is up with that. Now we come to the ones that are above the others. First, Pike. His knife was created to cut out organs of sea monsters while alive. I suppose his blade is incredibly sharp and strong, and his strange powers can potentially have made it even stronger. Rengar. His blade is similar to Pike's. His blade can also hurt the strongest animals, so I believe it's equally strong. But these are not all daggers. Deep back in history, there was made one more dagger. One to bind a special Darkin. But about this one, we will find out more next year. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. Bel'Veth is the story of AI gone wrong. She was created because the evolving void had consumed more and more matter. Now it adapted and mimicked human emotions and needs. Bel'Veth is a combination of the information it received. She has the knowledge of people and the void, and believes herself the strongest being in this existence. Well, it's stupid for her that her knowledge is not final, and she has no idea about the spirit realm or the celestial realm. Powers too difficult to compute for the human brain. AI can also only know so much as we give it to learn, and human information are heavily flawed and incomplete. This is making Bel'Veth or AI very efficient, but inefficient in looking beyond set borders. Program Bel'Veth is the perfect skin, or Coven/Old God. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. League of Legends weapons, hammers and clubs. Today we take a look at the blunt tools. And our first smasher is Jace. His hammer. Jace's hammer is powered by Hextech. It can transform into a giant gun. Just how crazy is this one? Well, crazy cool is also the next one. The most blunt weapon. A giant pillar of true ice, the coldest substance in Runeterra, that kills everyone by frost when they are not iceborn. This thing is a brutally crazy weapon. Next up is the hammer of Ornn, and I will just show you what it does. Yeah. That's what this weapon can do, but only worn by the worthy hero, who is Poppy. Ornn's hammer, named Hammer, is the best thing Ornn ever created. Maybe because, like Ornn, it creates things. But, for an example, Ornn's fork was once thrown into the sea and used by a Mer-King as a trident. So you can imagine how powerful this hammer will be. Nightfall is Mordekaiser's mace. Its body count is unbelievably high. It is smithed out of the souls of those whom Mordekaiser slew. And yeah, Mordekaiser is just an absolute unit. This was Arthis, and I'll catch you in the next one. Gangplank and Misfortune. Gangplank. Bilgewater's pirate overlord seized control of the island decades ago. He became ever more ruthless and complacent until he murdered the weapon artificer and her child, or so he believed. The child survived, and Sarah Fortune, the girl who lived, who by grief and the wish for revenge became an excellent shot and a great pirate, plotted a coup to kill Gangplank. And she succeeded. She sunk his ship, and with it the man, and Misfortune became Captain Fortune. In the coming years, she tried to unite the captains under her banner, in the process becoming ever more brutal, like the man she hated. Rumors of Gangplank's return sparked, and Misfortune had to bond together with a crazy group of heroes to stop this newly strengthened and determined man in his attempt to use the power of the Rune King to seize Bilgewater again. Gangplank escaped then, and now Sarah Fortune knows that her enemy is out there, plotting his revenge. League of Legends Special Weapons Part 1. First up is Alawi. With the idol of Nagakeboros, Alawi is able to channel her god's powers. She can rip out souls and put them to the test. Next up, Kiana. Her weapon is an omlatl, a big hula hoop that can channel elemental magic, and even though it is well crafted and magical, Kiana will make sure that you know it's all her talent. Irelia's blades are actually the shards of her family crest. Her dance connects her to the spirit realm and Ionia herself, and so she's able to hover these deadly blades. Every time she finishes a fight, Irelia cleans the remnants of her family crest, knowing that they will never be clean from the blood. Zaya's feathers are 100% magical. Her Vestayan magic allows her to form spirit feathers that act like daggers or blades. This makes her the perfect underground fighter, because no blade can be found until it's too late. This was Arthis, and I'll see you in the next one. Jhin is one of Riot's most amazing releases. There was art that showed different champions whose faces grew strange flowers. Shortly after there was a teaser of him shooting someone in the most artistic way imaginable, with the victim transforming into a tree. Jhin is also called the Golden Demon, and he is from Ionia. Just imagine a stealth shooter as Jhin, where you have to take out special targets, and you get extra points for staging it in specific ways. Jhin plays amazingly different, focusing on quality of attacks rather than quantity. His theme, his lines, his aesthetic. Jhin is one of Riot's all-time best. Sickles and Scythes. The first sickle is Akali's Karma. It was created in the Kinku order and smithed by magic. This is why it shimmers a bit in the colors of magic. The second weapon is Thresh's Sickle, a spectral weapon on a long chain, with which he can rip out souls to trap them inside his lantern. In time, Thresh became ever more powerful, and so did his weapons.
Rast. The Darkin known as Rast was trapped in a scythe. Unlike Aatrox, he does not corrupt everyone in an instant, but intrigues his wearer with promises of power. Rast looks for the perfect wearer to add their powers to his own. Ironically, he seems to have found his host in the one boy that can resist him.
This was Arthis, and I'll see you in the next one. League of Legends, the Forgotten Scythe. Scythe, the weapon of demons and Darkin, the powers of evil. The Grim Reaper, who harvests the souls. Yeah, these are the Scythes. And during my last video I forgot to mention one crucial weapon, Fiddlestick's Scythe. Fiddlesticks is one of the most powerful beings in Runeterra. The demon has no shape and consequentially no arms. Fiddlestick's body is made out of spare parts that it found resembling a scarecrow, and one of the things he uses is a simple farmer's scythe. But don't get fooled by this simple tool. Once Fiddlestick sees you, there is no running. This was Arthis, and I see you in the next one. Viego used to be one of my favorite champions, and I still like him a lot, but I used to think, well, he had a bad childhood, the influence on him was terrible, and he was just a poor boy in poor circumstances. At least I thought this was a lot of it. But reading Ruination, Viego at times is a Joffrey. You are so disappointed by his choices. You can see that he's about to do the right thing, but then someone comes to him and again he does a 180 and runs it down. Viego was obsessed and he didn't see anything clearly. Now there is one last hope I have. I think that Viego, now that he's bound in Kamavor, has the time to finally think about his deeds. The last thing he saw was Isolde, who told him, "Mate, I never wanted this, and you really ducked up, I'm out." Right now we have a period that has never been there in his life. He can't deny that he was wrong, and he can't deny that Isolde wanted to be in peace. And additionally, his hole in his chest has been closed. He is now alive again and should not longer be undead. And I'm not sure that he can still use the power of the Blacklist. I hope that Viego can now finally compute what he has done. Redemption is something I don't think he deserves, but an eternity serving as a protector of Kamavor and as an enemy to Thresh would be amazing.